Hello everyone. In this video, I will take you through the current affairs from 16th of August to 22nd of August. So let's begin. Now, Defense Forces, RBI and PM Office most trusted institutions. So students, according to a survey conducted by Ipsos India, Defense Forces, RBI and Prime Minister of India Office, they are the most trusted institutions, as in people have highest confidence in them in terms of their functioning, their credibility. And these institutions were followed by Supreme Court of India and CBI students. So these are the five most trusted institutions in the world. Defense Forces got 65% vote, and RBI got 50% of the vote, PM Office 49% of the vote. And the other institutions that were in the top list, so, Parliament and Media and Election Commission of India. Now, very interestingly, the institutions at the bottom of the heap, that means the institutions that had least credibility among the public. So they are politicians, political parties, understandably so, community leaders, and religious leaders, students. Now, world's highest Chenab railway bridge inaugurated, students. So this is world's highest railway bridge on, and this is on River Chenab, students. So this is for the first time ever since independence that Srinagar will be linked to the rest of India after the over-arc deck on world's highest single-arc railway bridge over River Chenab is constructed. And this bridge, students, this is 35 meters higher than Eiffel Tower. Next, students, India can be USD 5 trillion economy by financial year 2029 if GDP grows at 9% for 5 years, students. So the former RBI governor D. Subbarao, he said that India may become a 5 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy by 28-29 only if the GDP grows at 9% per annum consistently for the next 5 years, students. And he was speaking at an event on the occasion of 75 years of India's independence. And students, he highlighted certain challenges. So according to him, there are 8 key challenges for India to overcome to achieve the dream of 5 trillion economy. These challenges are how to increase the investment, improving productivity, education and health outcomes, creating jobs, raising agricultural productivity, maintaining macroeconomic stability, managing global mega trends, and improving governance, students, right? So these are the few priority areas that the government needs to look into if India wants to become a $5 trillion economy soonest possible. And Subbarao also threw some light on, the state subsidies that all political parties are at fault for the situation. So he raised some concern about freebie students. So he cautioned that the states and the union government must realize that the country does not have surplus budget. And while some safety net is surely needed, they must be cautious and selective on what freebies to be given from borrowed money, and the future generation should not be burdened with unnecessary debt burden. So basically, he underlined the fact, students, these days we see that a lot of political parties, in a bid to win the elections, they make some, promises of freebies and subsidies to their constituency. So according to D. Subbarao, this is a major challenge that we face as a country. We don't have a surplus budget, students. So government needs to use freebies. Of course, we have to create a safety net. The underprivileged people, they need to be supported. However, the government needs to use it very cautiously, very selectively, and decide that what are the priority areas for which subsidies should be provided from the borrowed money in particular. So a very valid and pertinent point raised by D. Subbarao there. Next, students, India to start supplying petrol with 20% ethanol from April 2023. So students, ethanol is basically a biofuel, students, right? And India will start supplying petrol with 20% ethanol at select petrol pumps from April next year. And it would ramp up subsidies for these students as it looks to cut oil import dependence. Now, students have to understand that India is an energy fuel deficit country. we are dependent for our energy needs on foreign countries. So India wants to cut oil import dependence, our dependence on other countries for importing oil, students, right? And one way of doing that is by reducing the oil consumption. And this can be done if we mix the regular fuel, petrol, diesel, with ethanol, students, which is a biofuel. So we cannot completely replace petrol with ethanol. However, we can mix some proportion, some amount of biofuel with the regular fuel, students. So the Prime Minister, dedicated the second generation ethanol plant in Panipat, Haryana, on the occasion of the World Biofuel Day, students. So a pertinent point here is, students, that earlier the mixing was to the tune of 5% to 10%, but now the government, in a bid to reduce import, oil dependence, they have increased that to 20%. So now 20% of biofuel would be added to the regular amount of fuel. So now how would this help students? The other advantages, of course, one is that reducing imports. And so what are the other advantages, students? So creating an end use for the agri-crop residue. So students, basically, ethanol is a byproduct, students, that usually comes from sugarcane, processing. So it's a byproduct of sugarcane. So it is basically a residue. It is an agri-crop residue. So this would empower farmers and provide an additional income generation opportunity for them. So this is not just going to benefit us as a country in terms of reducing the total consumption of oil, but also generate more income for farmers, as this is a residue. So basically, this is like a waste item, but the farmers can earn some money from selling ethanol. And through the reduction in the burning of rice straw, the project will contribute to a reduction of greenhouse gases, students, to about 3 lakh tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions per annum, which can be understood as equivalent to replacing nearly 63,000 cars annually on the country's roads. It's also going to help in carbon dioxide emissions. And this would be equivalent, the reduction in fossil fuels emissions would be equivalent to replacing nearly 63,000 cars annually on the country's roads, students. Next, students, State Bank of India introduced its first dedicated branch to support startup students. So the country's largest lender, State Bank of India, has launched its first branch dedicated to startups in Bengaluru, students. So this is going to be, they're going to have these outlets, branches that would be dedicated solely to support startup students. So SBI Chairman Dinesh Khara, he launched the branch in Bengaluru, Koramangala. And so basically, this place was chosen because it is biggest startup hubs in the city, students. And they plan to open some new branches in Gurgaon and Hyderabad in future. Now, the branch will provide services ranging from, stage of formation of startups to initial public offering and follow on public offering, students. So basically, they are going to offer end-to-end support services to the startups, to the entrepreneurs. And apart from providing funds, students, they would also support such players through associated services such as investment banking, treasury operations, advisory, and other ancillary financial services through its subsidiaries. So basically, it provides a range of services and thus caters to the need of startups and budding entrepreneurs. Next, students, veteran stock market investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala passes away, students. Very unfortunate news there. Veteran stock market investor Jhunjhunwala, he's passed away at the age of 62. Often referred to as India's Warren Buffett and the big bull of Indian markets, Jhunjhunwala's net worth was $5.8 billion, students. And he was considered an investor with a Midas touch, and he was the 48th richest man in the country. He was born in 1916 in a Rajasthani family. He went to Sydenham College and he was a chartered accountant. He enrolled at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And his first big profit came in 1986 students when he bought 5,000 shares of Tata Tea at rupees 43. And the stock rose to rupees 143 within just 3 months, students. Next, students, Bal Aadhaar initiative, 79 lakh children enrolled under UIDAI scheme, students, Unique Identification Authority. So students we have the regular Aadhaar. So this is like an Aadhaar for children students. And this is known as Bal Aadhaar Initiative. So more than 79 lakh children between the age group of 0 to 5 years were enrolled under this initiative. And this is a new effort by the government of India to reach out to more children in the age group of 0 to 5. This will also help the parents and children to avail the various facilities and benefits. And the Bal Aadhaar doesn't require any biometric details of children below 5 years. So there is no biometric identification the way it is for the adult students, because the biometrics for children under the age of 5, they're not fully developed actually. But after the children reach the age of 5, biometric updates will be mandatory. Next, students, Government of India unveils Manthan platform for better industry and R&D collaboration. So the Government of India unveiled the Manthan platform to drive collaboration between the industry and research institutes to implement technology-based social impact innovations and solutions to the country. So students, like I have, highlighted this many times in the past also, that there is a serious disconnect between academia uh, and between education and the industry students. So what is taught in our universities and the kind of research that is done in our R&D institutions, that sort of doesn't, align with the requirements of the industry. So therefore, students, this Manthan platform has been established so that there is better collaboration between industry and research institutes. That is, that, you know, the kind of research that is promoted within the country, that is carried out within the country, that meets the requirement of the industry students, and hence provides various solutions to the country and the industry. The launch of the Manthan, a platform that promises to augment, to support our efforts to build and nurture industry participation in R&D, is also a testimony to our commitment to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, students. So basically, this is one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And this nurtures industry participation in research and development. That means industry needs to support research and development, fund them, and sort of provide them other kind of assistance as well. And the launch commemorates India's 75 years of independence and presents an opportunity to bring national and global communities closer to India's technology revolution. The Manthan platform will help scale up interaction among stakeholders, students, facilitate research and innovation that makes a social impact. And this is primarily targeted at taking up projects or facilitating innovation or research that has a social impact, students, particularly, so it provides solutions to some of the biggest social challenges we face, students. And the platform will provide the necessary fulcrum from transforming the nation through innovative ideas, inventive minds, public, private, academia collaboration to achieve country sustainability goals. This would facilitate knowledge transfers and interaction through information exchange, exhibitions, events to develop a framework for future science, innovation, and technology-led growth. Next, students, India's oil demand will rise by 7.73% in 2022, and it's going to be fastest in the world. So India's demand for petroleum products like petrol and diesel is going to be fastest in the world, students. And probably that's the reason for, that whole blending of ethanol initiative by the government that we just spoke about. So it says that it's going to grow by 7.73%, students. India's oil demand remained healthy at 0.7 million barrels a day. And oil demand in India is supported by rising momentum in economic activities. So sometimes students, the rise in the demand of oil, it indicates positive industrial growth also. So it is supported by rising momentum in the economic activities and the economic reopening. And there's also easing of the COVID-19 restrictions. So Indian oil demand in June was supported by the reduction in excise duty on petrol and diesel by the central government also. So this led to robust demand for fuel, students. Now, very quickly, what are the sources that India draws the fuel from, petroleum products from? So Russia, 24% of our oil comes from Russia, 21% from Iraq, and 15% from Saudi Arabia, students. So these are the top three sources of oil imports for India. If I talk about OPEC, students, so Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, students, it's a permanent intergovernmental organization. So it's a body of about 13 countries that controls the demand, the supply and the pricing of petrol, students, right? And this is it was created in 1960 at the Baghdad Conference by Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Venezuela. It, it initially had its headquarters in Geneva, which then moved to Vienna, Austria. So basically, the headquarters of OPEC is in Vienna, Austria, students. And it accounts for an estimated 44% of global oil production and 81.5% of world's proven oil reserves. And currently, the organization has a total of 13 member, students. So Algeria, Angola, Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Libya, Nigeria, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Venezuela. So you should know the name of these country, students. A very important organization, obviously an organization that controls the supply and price of oil, right? So it is one of the most important organizations. You should know the name of the member countries, right? So that's all for this video, students. I will see you next week with another video on current affairs. Thank you so much.